If someone were to describe the early stages of a collapse in COMEX confidence, it would look exactly like this. A few years of elevated deliveries, back and forth sloshing around, metal starts leaving the vault slowly but steadily, inventories get thin, and then the banks restock but not enough. Then a little more fear sets in and the exodus accelerates. It is also possible that a commodity market could get so out of order with insufficient metal to deliver against demands for physical delivery, as demonstrated by the nickel commodity market over the past few weeks, that the entire commodity exchange for that commodity could freeze or even collapse. Hey, what's up, Silver Stackers? Thank you for tuning in. This is Silver Slayer. There is a very real possibility that our silver could be confiscated by the government. Before you say this is BS, there's no way. They've done it before, time and time again, with gold. And the reason they confiscated the people's gold is nowhere near as extreme as why they would today. Now, they're not going to come kick down our front door and steal our safe. That's not how it works. They've done that in the past, historically. But let's use the example, the Executive Order 6102 from FDR. This was when they confiscated everyone's gold. This is what it would look like. Under the Executive Order of the President, April 5th, 1933, all persons are required to deliver on or before May 1st, 1933, all gold coin, gold bullion, and gold certificate now owned by them to the Federal Reserve Bank, branch or agency, or to any member of the Federal Reserve System. So all that gold you had, that's not yours anymore. It says it's now owned by the Federal Reserve. That's not your gold anymore that's in your safe. Federal Reserve owns that, and you got to turn it in. And if you don't, you will pay a $10,000 fine or 10 years in prison or both. Now, $10,000 in 1933, you can't even imagine how much that's worth today. Or 10 years in prison or both. That's very serious. And if you think about the reality of that happening, just imagine why they would today. Anytime they've confiscated the people's gold, which has been numerous times. I made a video once going over every time throughout history. It's probably 15, 20 different times throughout history all across the world. Some have been more barbaric than others, but nowadays I think it would look more like this. And the reason would be the shortage. Now, we know that we need a lot of silver coming up as we try to save the planet with, global warming and climate change, the new Green Deal, trying to put solar panels across the world and electric vehicles, this goal of zero net emissions by the year 2040. Silver is the primary role for this to happen. But we know that silver is being drained. COMEX vaults are emptied, coin and bars on allocation as ravenous demand for physical silver continues unabated. We even see the numbers. The numbers don't lie. Gold isn't scarce. There's plenty of gold, but vaults, this is the LBMA.com, by the way, or LBMA.org, shows the diminishing supply. And even if we look at this article, COMEX inventories plummet is a vault run underway. When the Wall Street Silver did their thing back, early 2021, everyone thought that was just a little instance. No, they're still going just as hard, if not harder. It's just not in the public eye anymore. They're still going hard. And it's not just them. That was just the little spark of the flame that got notoriety. But there's billionaires buying silver now. We just covered a story. This lady billionaire from Texas bought over $50 million worth of silver. 900,000 eagles, $100,000 plus in junk, even gold. She purchased that order with Miles Franklin, by the way, which is now the company that I work with, and they're actually doing a deal right now. 2022 Silver Britannias, Krugerrands, Philharmonics, and backdated Maples, only $475 over spot. If you want that deal, just send an email to info@milesfranklin.com. Let them know you want that deal or ask what else they have in stock. They have pretty much everything and let them know Silver Slayer sent you. Great company. I mean, that billionaire trusted them with $50 million, and he filled that. Andy Sheckman, which is the CEO, filled that order in 2 days. So, very good company. Highly recommend you buy from them, build a relationship like a lot of people are doing. But yeah, so, that's a prime example. Also, Warren Buffett, Jim Rogers. I mean, I've made so many videos on billionaires that are buying silver, and it makes sense why. Regardless, though, the question is, would the Federal Reserve confiscate our silver? Now, I think they would take the angle of, save the planet. Save the planet. Turn in your silver so we can make solar panels. And that would be the best way for them if they wanted it to work. Because would you turn in your silver? If this order came out like this in the newspaper or something and said turn in your silver, would you risk the 10 years imprisonment and the $200,000 fine, which is probably what that would be equivalent to today? Would you risk it, or would you do it? And I'm sure they know a lot of people would just keep their mouth shut. So the best way to play it would be, help save the planet, help turn in silver so we could build these solar panels. Now, we know that silver recycling is starting to become bigger, but I don't think recycling is going to be enough. I don't think there's enough silver in the Earth's crust, or especially since silver is a byproduct, for us to cover the lost ground that we have. Space mining isn't realistic yet, so what are they going to do? Ours would be the most realistic option, or the most, efficient option. So I want to cover these articles because I really want you guys to understand that they've confiscated people's gold time and time again, and it's usually during war or economic turmoil. Now, we're kind of in both of those situations. And by the way, in a silver Russian Tomahawk missile, that uses 500 ounces of silver. In one Tomahawk missile, 500 ounces in one of those. So we're looking at war from two different angles, from the gold perspective of that's what backs a country's wealth, but also the amount of silver used in times like war. But also, most importantly, as we advance in this new digital technological era. So COMEX inventories plummet. Is a silver vault run, or is a vault run underway? Vaults are emptied. Coin embargoes on allocation. Ravenous demand for physical silver continues. And then we also have this, this is, by the way, this is over the last year. Over the last year. This is the last 2 years. And you could see all of a sudden over the last year, it just starts dumping. This is the all-time. And you can see we're at basically an all-time low. This is the lowest in a very long time. The vaults are being emptied, like this article says. I mean, it literally says vaults are emptied. So COMEX inventories plummet. Is a silver, or is a vault run underway? While COMEX deliveries have been very elevated for over 2 years, most of the metal was going back and forth within the COMEX vaults. The past few months have seen major acceleration of gold leaving the COMEX. Unlike gold, silver has not yet started leaving the COMEX system in droves, but the amount of registered has fallen off a cliff. Gold and silver deliveries on the COMEX have surged since March of 2020, while delivery volume in 2021 and 2022 are below the massive amount seen in 2020. Overall volume, very elevated compared to the pre-global situation levels. This analysis focuses on gold and silver within the COMEX futures exchange. See the article, What is the COMEX, more detail, blah, blah, blah. So here's the current trends. Delivery activity is tracked monthly and recently showed a major surge in volume for August. A delivery on the COMEX means trader is short a futures contract, but presumably holds physical metal at the COMEX with a warrant assigned. And that's basically saying, the warrant is reassigned to take a long contract, where the holder will then take delivery by making their intentions known and then posting the full amount of the contract based on the bar weight. Not all bars are exactly 100 ounces. Then, blah, blah, blah. COMEX deliveries have been elevated for over 2 years. Most of the metal is going back and forth in the COMEX. There was not a major extraction of the metal, but that was with gold, right? But then let's look down at silver. Silver is also seeing a major change in inventory. And by the way, this was written in April, yeah, or August of 2022. So look at this. Silver is also seeing a major change in inventory. Unlike gold, the metal has not yet started leaving the COMEX system in droves, but the amount of registered has fallen off a cliff. Registered is metal available for delivery. There is not much silver left to be delivered, and I think once the COMEX breaks, where there's not enough, where the contracts don't equal to the amount of physical silver to be delivered, once that happens, I think everything's going to be exposed, which I've made several videos about, where people have said, this will happen eventually, where the COMEX will be exposed, where there's not enough silver for those contracts to be filled. So anyways, the amount of registered has fallen off a cliff. Silver registers down 41% since March 15th, 2022. 41% since March of 2022, and down 65.7% since February 4th, 2021, which was the start of the Wall Street silver squeeze. This is a massive drawdown in metal available for delivery. For now, metal is staying in the COMEX vaults, but if gold is a leading indicator, metal might start leaving eligible in a big way, as can be seen below. The amount of registered has fallen to 16.6%, down from 40% in 2020. This is the lowest ratio since June of 2017. And by the way, last time we saw something like this, where the vaults were being emptied and clearly something big was about to happen, was the Hunt brothers, where they owned up to 77% of the entire silver supply globally. Now, it could be a lot lower, but regardless, they owned most of the silver in the world physically, because they turned those contracts on the COMEX into physical delivery. Well, the government wasn't going to let that happen. The government wasn't going to let three brothers own almost all the silver in the world, because even back in 1980, we still needed silver for a lot of stuff, and if these three guys owned all the silver, we couldn't make anything, since silver is so useful. So what they did was banned silver on the COMEX. They banned it. They made a law called Silver Rule 7. You could not buy silver. You had to sell it. And when that happened, everyone panic sold, because you couldn't sell it to your friends. You couldn't buy it. You had to sell it back to the government. And what that did was then cause everyone to sell it, dropping the price from $50, which, by the way, during that period of where they owned all that silver, the price of silver was the highest price it is still till today. Silver was $50 during the Hunt brothers movement during that time when they owned all that. Then they pushed that rule, or the law Silver Rule 7, banned silver on the COMEX, shot the price from $50 back down to like $8. But anyways, and think about that. If they did that back then, imagine the same situation could happen today. Not only could they potentially confiscate our silver, they could ban silver, so the COMEX wouldn't get exposed. Because that's what would have happened back then. They didn't even have enough silver to keep up with 1 month of deliveries back then. Again, the action in silver is a bit more nuanced. Investors are taking delivery and then moving registered metal to eligible. They are taking it out of the available supply for delivery, but are still keeping it in the COMEX system. If the current pace keeps up, eventually that silver will start to leave the system. And then you could see right here, here's a chart, month over month change in stock. The daily activity is a bit more erratic in silver than gold. July saw a very continuous outflow of registered, but since August started, the outflows have been eligible, with registered remaining fairly flat. And then you could see this table shows the changes over more standard time periods. Gold in the last week, eligible lost 3.4%. Over the last month, gold lost 8.8% of total stock, spread evenly between eligible and registered. Let's look at silver though. Silver registered is down 11% in the last month alone. Over the last year, registered has lost over 50 million ounces, or 48.5%. A repeat of the last year would see COMEX registered fully exhausted. I mean, this, and it's only going to get worse. Demand's only going to get higher. Like the COMEX is going to get exposed. It's going to collapse. And what was that guy's name? Um, uh, Patrick Heller. Yeah, Patrick Heller. He talked about, this is the same guy that talked about the legal stuff going on with the U.S. Mint. He talked about the silver shortage, or what's going on with the U.S. Mint. He mentioned why would the COMEX, or what would it look like if the COMEX did fall apart, and it was spot on, and he talked about how realistic it is. I should pull that up actually. Maybe I will at the end of the video, but anyways, silver month over month saw only one vault increase inventory, but then 5 vaults shedding more than 5% of the inventory. 4 vaults lost over 1 million ounces in the last month. So you could see right here. And I'll post this link in the description if you want to go into the more detailed stuff. So, I mean, this is real stuff. So, COMEX delivery should not be confused with loadouts, where metal actually leaves the vaults. If someone were to describe the early stages of a collapse in COMEX confidence, it would look exactly like this. A few years of elevated deliveries back and forth sloshing around, metal starts leaving the vault slowly but steadily, inventories get thin, and then the banks restock but not enough, then a little more fear sets in and the exodus accelerates. Wow. 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 I mean, that right there. That paragraph right there. Wow. And actually, leaving right there, I did want to go over this, which is talking about how the vaults are emptied. At the end of June, the amount of silver held in the London vaults hit a 6-year low, reflecting almost insatiable demand for the precious metal from investors and industry, right? People like you and I, but also big tech companies, Tesla. So I did want to show the other article where Patrick Heller describes how the COMEX would collapse, or what it would look like, as well, since we saw the first one in that last paragraph I just mentioned. This is talking about the U.S. Mint silver shortage is explained, but at the end, this is what it would look like. So the last of these used to be considered an option only to be used in an emergency, since it was the most expensive way to settle a contract. However, it appears that most settlements in the silver market over the past several years have been exchanged for physical. In other words, those hoping to obtain physical silver at spot by purchasing a commodity contract and holding it to maturity either will never get the physical metal, or only receive it much longer in the future than the maturity date of the original contract. It's also possible, here we go, it's also possible that a commodity market could get so out of order with insufficient metal to deliver against demands for physical delivery, as demonstrated by the nickel commodity market over the past few weeks, that the entire commodity exchange for that commodity could freeze or even collapse. With the information in last week's column provided here, you now have a better understanding of the difficulty for the U.S. Mint to acquire sufficient silver to meet demand for its products. And that was branching off what could happen. But these 2 articles are probably the best articles, both written by Patrick Heller, talking about the silver shortages within the U.S. Mint, what's happening with them, the legal side of things. It's incredible. It's incredible. But anyways, yeah, I wanted to bring this to light as well. Plus, we have the data right here showing, you know, the amount of troy ounces in the LBMA vaults as well. I mean, numbers don't lie. No, numbers don't lie. You could try to speculate and theorize. Everyone that's saying, oh, there's plenty of silver, the silver shortage isn't real, these guys don't know what they're talking about, but they don't show any data. They don't show anything. They just say there isn't, or they say it's all false. But I'm sitting here showing article after article, chart after chart, piece of information. I mean, back to back. I've covered so many different articles, probably 30, 40 different ones, all giving data where these guys just sit at a computer on their microphone and just say that it's false with not one piece of information to give their case any type of legitimacy. So anyways, I'm going to wrap this video up here. What do you think about this? This was not only going into confiscation, but also the possibility of the COMEX collapsing, which I guess in return could also lead to confiscation, just like the Hunt brothers. So yeah, I'm going to wrap this video up here. If you did want to check out this deal, make sure to send an email to info@milesfranklin.com. Let them know you want one of these or all of these or whatever. All these coins are great coins. Ask what else they have in stock. Also, make sure to let them know Silver Slayer sent you, because that helps support me as well. Miles Franklin's a great company. Very good guys. And also make sure to subscribe if you thought the video was worth a subscription. And like the video if you liked the video. I'm not going to ask you to like the video in the first 10 seconds because you don't even know if you like the video yet. I think it's funny when channels do that. So yeah, thanks for tuning in. This was Silver Slayer. I'll see you guys soon. Peace.